Welcome. Good morning.
Thanks. Good evening for you.
Thank you so much for making time. And I'm totally excited because I realized as I was preparing for this conversation with you that I don't know enough about soy sauce and you know a lot.
I mean, it's a really deep topic, so I don't think anyone can really know enough about soy sauce, honestly, as you know, with any condiment.
Well, but I mean, I was thinking about all the different kinds of soy sauces that I have in my pantry. And I've got Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Indonesian, Thai, and now I've got Taiwanese soy sauce.
Yeah.
And, it's Vietnamese people, we don't have a particularly distinctive Vietnamese soy sauce. We just buy other people's soy sauce. And I was particularly interested in your perspective on soy sauce because I feel like it goes much deeper than just a condiment itself, right?
Yeah, when I was doing research before I started my soy sauce company, I realized that the global soy sauce market is actually 2 to 3 times larger than that of olive oil. Like it is huge. Yet in the States, it's still kind of relegated to like an ethnic niche ingredient, which is to me kind of ridiculous. It's kind of like the most obvious ingredient in any global pantry. Yet while I'm trying to sell it to grocery stores, people are like, "Oh, this still belongs in the global flavors of the Asian aisle." And that just, I don't know, a lot of parallels with food writing and telling our stories, I think.
Right. And I mean, I have your book and I was reading.
Yay.
Yeah. So Clarissa is the co-author of a book called Made in Taiwan. And it won Beard Awards and received tons of accolades. It's also super popular in Taiwan among Taiwanese Americans and also with the Taiwanese president, right? Or
Yeah, the president and vice president named it like one of their favorite books of this year, which is really cool.
and you have like this it's a nationalistic, patriotic um, perspective towards food and culture. And so, what does soy sauce mean to you in terms of culture and your identity?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's again a fundamental, much like fish sauce in Vietnamese cooking. It's a fundamental ingredient that's used everywhere. I also didn't really think too much about soy sauce when I was writing Made in Taiwan. It wasn't sort of afterwards until I sort of realized, oh wow, like a lot of the flavors here in Taiwan are because of our soy sauce. So like when I was developing the cookbook recipes, I was using like, your cheap kikoman or your cheap likumki. And I was like, wait, the flavors don't really taste right. And then I just chalked that up to, maybe I'm not doing it at a large scale. And then it kind of took me a while to have that eureka moment. I was like, no, it's because of the quality of the soy sauce. Because when I started trying and using single origin or like black soybean soy sauce, I was like, wow, this is completely different and it yields a completely different flavor profile. So in terms of what like soy sauce means to me, black soybean soy sauce, for example, which is the soy sauce I sell, that's to me like the quintessential flavor of Taiwan. And you can't get that with your generic grocery store soy sauce.
So, so tell us back up a little bit because now you're going into graduate level soy sauce talk here. So, so tell us how soy sauce is made. I mean, in general.
Yeah, so you take the soybeans, you steam them, and then you inoculate it with koji, and then you ferment it in a salt brine. So there's two types of brines. It's either a dry brine or a wet brine, and that really just differs by region or by producer. And then that's usually fermented for anywhere from 3 months to a year, and then it's filtered and pressed. And then at this point, that's when people will like cook it and add sugar or add any other ingredients to it. And that's it. It's just fermented soybeans. But actually, 80% of all soy sauces on the market are made with defatted soybeans. That's soybeans with the oil removed. You don't need the oil when you're making soy sauce, but the reason why they do that is it's an industrial shortcut. It's a byproduct of the soybean oil industry. Um, and yeah, that yields sort of a sharper flavor. It's cheaper quality. And like that's what the majority of soy sauces on your grocery store shelves are. In the United States, however, it's not legally mandated to state that it's made with defatted soybeans. So like most consumers don't know. But if you're going to any like boutique shop and like buying really high quality soy sauce, chances are those are made with whole soybeans, and that yields just a much more nuanced flavor.
That's interesting. So, like with tofu, you pick and choose your soybeans really carefully. And similarly with soy sauce, you do as well. I did not know that about the defatted soybeans. And that makes sense. Now, does that remove some of the nitrogen or proteins from the soybeans or?
That I don't know, but I saw your post about fish sauce and the nitrogen content, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what we have in soy sauce too, but no one talks about it. So um, I would imagine it would remove some of the nitrogen content, but in terms of nitrogen, that's also how we determine the quality of a soy sauce, and this is a standard that's used throughout East Asia. So it's called fermentation index, and it basically calculates the amount of nitrogen um, grams per milliliter in soy sauce, and so the baseline for Japan and Taiwan is 1.4. Most soy sauces don't really go above that. The soy sauce that I sell is like 2.0, and a lot of like companies will test it regularly and they'll publish it. But like, I haven't heard anyone talk about this in the States. I hadn't even heard of nitrogen content. And your post on fish sauce was the first time I saw someone in the States talk about it. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. There's so many parallels to this.
Yeah, well, it's like nitrogen. It's all about nitrogen, people. And
It,
like,
it, it really is. And it makes sense because fish sauce is a fermented product too. And it measures the amount of umami um, in a product.
right. So tell us how the wheat figures in to
Yeah.
soy sauce.
So this goes back to what you were saying about how there's a lot of stylistic and regional variation. So like wheat sort of just adds this like sweet edge to it. It's kind of combined. It's mixed in with the koji and the soy sauce while it's fermenting. And this isn't a lot of black soybean soy sauce doesn't use wheat, but we use wheat because it just adds like it boosts the natural sweetness to it. So again, it's all regional and stylistic, and every producer kind of has their own take on it. So it's like funny how in America people think of soy sauce as just one condiment, whereas in Asia it's like there's like what type of soy sauce from what
Exactly.
producer. It's completely different.
And when you're making the food of Taiwan versus mainland China versus Thailand versus Japan and Korea, if you use a soy sauce that is made in that style, your food will sing, right?
Yes, and that's kind of what that was my eureka moment as well. You mentioned how Made in Taiwan sort of like a nationalistic book, and like a lot of my thesis was derived from kind of my soy sauce or condiment research. So, growing up in LA, when you are talking about Taiwanese food, or you Google a recipe for like beef noodle soup or anything, all the recipes are like, oh, use light or dark soy sauce. But growing up, and a lot of Taiwanese Americans can attest to this, like, I didn't know what light or dark soy sauce is. Like, my parents never used that. We just had one type of soy sauce at home, and then maybe a soy paste, which is a thicker version. And then when I moved back here to Taiwan and I went to the grocery store, like, it's really hard to find light or dark soy sauce. And that was kind of my eureka moment. And I was like, wait, we don't have that. That's a style that's unique or from southern China, that like the Cantonese speaking diaspora really passed on to the States, which is very dominant in the US. But in Taiwan, I actually like called up one of the biggest soy sauce factories and I was like, tell me how you make your soy sauce. And they were just like, well, it's kind of made in the Japanese style because we were a Japanese colony for 50 years. And like, that's where we got our recipe. And then I realized like Taiwan's condiments are more stylistically similar to that of Japan than many parts of China. And it's because we were a Japanese colony for 50 years. So learning about condiments and their history can really tell you about a place's food culture and its history.
Completely. And I feel like with your journey with soy sauce, Taiwanese soy sauce, I feel like you mentioned in the book that soy sauce was brought to Taiwan in the 17th century. So we're
Mhm.
talking 1600s. So,
Yeah.
when you think about that, and everybody thinks, oh, Taiwan's part of China, but it's like Taiwan was this island just over there with a bunch of indigenous people, right?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. During the 16th century to 18th century, the soy sauce that was brought over, that was soy sauce made with black soybeans. So that was a style that was popular in Fujian. And most soy sauces on the market for people who don't know anything about it are made with yellow soybeans. And then when the Japanese colonized Taiwan, this was in like the early 20th century, they brought over yellow soybeans. So actually, when you look at market share in Taiwan, like the vast majority of soy sauces in Taiwan are actually made with yellow soybeans, but there's still like a small minority and a niche minority making it with black soybeans. And like that's what I like to use in my cooking because I think that just yields such a unique flavor profile that you can't get. And a lot of the street vendors in the South, which is where I was doing a lot of my research, they're using black soybean soy sauce as well.
And so, how far is Fujian from Taiwan? Like,
Oh, I don't know the distance, but I do know like if we have some outlying islands on Taiwan, like you can see like Xiamen, if you go to the islands.
yeah. So
But
I'm asking because I think, like, for a lot of Americans, we don't understand the proximity of these places. How ideas and people during the 17th century, they would get on a boat and they
yeah,
wouldn't have to go very far, and you're, like, in this other place where all of a sudden it's like they don't have soy sauce. And
yeah,
doesn't all of Asia have soy sauce? Well, no, not necessarily. So so this is like this relatively new condiment to the island, and then here we get the colonization of the Japanese, and it's also all the sugar, um, agri cultivation that happens on the island as well, and
yeah.
that impacts the flavor of Taiwanese soy sauce, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think of a lot of when I was doing this research, it made me think about growing up in California. California is this like rich melting pot with all of these different influences, and Taiwan is very similar as well. The last time Taiwan was considered a part of like the Chinese empire, if you will, was during the 16th, 18th century. That's as long as the United States has been around for context, right? And then afterwards, it was the Japanese. And then in 1949, the nationalist government came and then they sort of influenced the food culture. But very similar to California, you have all of these different waves of immigration. And then with these different waves, you get different condiments, different flavor profiles. And when I was in LA, I was sort of tracking or like really interested on how the different ways of Chinese immigration influenced our Asian food scene in California. It's very similar to here in Taiwan. Taiwan doesn't have open borders with China. Like we haven't had a wave of immigration from China for 70 years. That has 100% impacted our food culture. I would say the modern Chinese food in California is better than the modern Chinese food in Taiwan. Like I can't get Sichuanese food the way I can get in LA. And every time I
Wow.
go back to LA, I go to like Sichuan restaurants because I miss it so much. And like,
Wow, that's interesting.
yeah, and I can't even get like Cantonese condiments really. Like I'm if I want like hoisin sauce or like red yeast extract or like rose wine, like I have to go on a specialty website or I've actually asked my friends bring it for me from LA. Um just because like we don't have a huge Cantonese speaking population in Taiwan.
So with that 70 years of not having, a huge immigration, wave from China, what I'm feeling from what you're saying and you've written and what you're producing is that now Taiwan is definitely in this phase of self-determination, with this democracy, and just saying we can do this on our own. And you
Yeah.
mentioned in your book, Made in Taiwan, that most of the ingredients on the island of Taiwan is made in Taiwan.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah. And
self-sufficient
then
kind of entity.
yeah. I mean, with any country, we're still importing, but in terms of like the dishes and like the recipes and the flavor profiles, it's very Taiwanese. So it's not to say we don't have Sichuanese restaurants. A lot of these Sichuanese restaurants were opened by people who came 70 years ago. Now it's like run by their grandchildren. But if you go to these restaurants and you taste the food, it has a very, we call it like Tai Wei, like it has a very Taiwanese inflection to it. It's a bit sweeter, not as spicy um like instead of using like large amounts of chili peppers we'll have or like peppercorns they'll just use like sweet chili sauce so everything just kind of has like a Taiwanese filter to it
Yeah.
now, which I think is really fascinating.
So you had mentioned Lee Kum Kee and Kikkoman, which are two brands that are very familiar to people.
Yeah.
Um, so tell us how those two brands differ from Taiwanese soy sauce in general.
Yeah, so Kikkoman is Japanese and Lee Kum Kee is Cantonese. Both of them use yellow soybeans and both of them are huge. So they have a lot of soy sauces. It's kind of hard to generalize, but I would say probably the majority of their products are either made with industrial soybeans or defatted soybeans. They obviously all have like premium lines that you can get. Taiwanese black soybean soy sauce is a very niche and small industry that's mostly concentrated in the central and south of Taiwan. And no one is using defatted soybeans because again, these black soybeans are like hard to get. So they're using whole soybeans and they're like made in small batches. And most black soybean producers don't actually use wheat. We use wheat because of it adds a different profile. So most Taiwanese black soybean soy sauces are actually gluten free, which is another difference. But it boils down for me as a cookbook author and recipe developer to taste. So black soybeans are higher in antioxidants, and they are also higher in protein. And higher in protein just means it gives greater room for the amino acids to convert to umami compounds. So when you taste, like, for example, this is our classic soy sauce. It has no sugar, but it like tastes naturally sweet and like this like well-roundedness to it. And that's at the crux of it. There's nothing wrong with yellow soybeans, obviously. It's just a different style, a different font.
Yeah.
And that to me like gives me a very, Taiwanese flavor.
So I have been holding on to your box
Ooh.
that arrived, and I've not opened it. And you know, it's like I see the soy sauce there on your desk, so I'm very now I want to taste these because it's really so interesting. I know fish sauce makers and I know you know, olive oil makers, but I don't know a soy sauce maker. So you're like the first person that
Amazing.
that I know to make soy sauce. So the classic soy sauce that you just
Y-
talked about. And tell me you've got no sugar in there.
Yeah, so this is designed for, I guess, honestly, people like you who are very familiar with Asian food, who cook a lot. I think the vast majority of all-purpose soy sauces out there are made without sugar, with the exception of Taiwan. In fact, most all-purpose soy sauces in Taiwan have a little bit of sugar. So this is just pure black soybeans, salt, water. Yeah, I'm curious what you think. When people taste it, they see this like, oh, and it also has 25% less sodium than like Lee Kum Kee or like the big soy sauce brands. Um, so this was designed for, again, people with deep familiarity with Asian food. This we can talk about later. This is for people who just think of soy sauce as like a dip for sushi or like dumplings.
Got it.
But this one is very special.
The color is beautiful. It's a really beautiful amber, like a reddish
Yeah.
amber. I mean, I can't really show
Yeah,
you.
and that's a big part of how to determine great soy sauce, right? Like the color. If you get like an inky black soy sauce, it's like, what's wrong with that? Or if it's like really faint, there's a lot of like diluted soy sauces or like chemical soy sauces. It should have
Mm.
that beautiful amber color.
That's delicious. That's really
Yeah,
so delicious.
I'm
Yeah.
glad. I knew you would like this and appreciate it because again, people with deep familiarity with Asian food love this one. People who don't cook a lot with Asian food, I don't think they necessarily get it. They're like, oh, it's soy sauce, but it has a nuance to it, right?
It's got like a chew.
Yeah, and it has like a bright citrus like end, which is like really unexpected, I think.
Yeah. Because I have some fancy Chinese soy sauces, and um, it's got a different flavor profile than this. It's a little
Yeah,
heavier, and sometimes it's a little tricked out with a little MSG, which I don't mind. And you don't have that in here, but you say that with the black soybeans, which have a higher fat content and protein content,
protein.
you get the umami in there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to me, it's like, again, like with a great fish sauce or like a great soy sauce, it's kind of like wine, right? It has like, like kind of the flavor notes come in layers and it's just really cool.
So how long does this ferment for?
This is, for 6 months. Yeah. So I
And
know, like, especially in the States, I see this like trend where people are like, oh my gosh, it's fermented for like 2 years. But we don't really have that type of culture in Taiwan. Most places just do like a basic 6 months to 1 year. Um, I think when I was like doing deep research on this, starting this company, a lot of the producers were just like saying things are barrel aged or like aged for many years doesn't actually mean anything. Like, a lot of time doesn't necessarily mean it's a good product. Like you want to control the fermentation. Having
yeah.
it just left out there doesn't necessarily mean it will yield a great product.
So you control the fermentation by how? How do you do that?
Just time is 6 months they found is like the optimal time for it. The silky is 12 months actually, but that's because it's double fermented. So this one is really fascinating to me. And this one is like our best seller and the one that I think when people taste it, they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know soy sauce could taste like that. What double fermented means, it's made with what I was describing before, just beans, water, salt. And then the second time around, instead of putting water in, they put soy sauce in. So it's fermented with soy sauce. And then they will add sugar at the very end to like sweeten it out. So it actually has like double the umami of what you just tasted and a sweetness to it because they add cane sugar.
Okay, so let me repeat that. See if I learned my lesson well from you, Clarissa. So we ferment the soy sauce for the beans for 6 months, and then we decant the liquid, so we get
Yeah.
soy sauce, and then we take some prior soy sauce, and then we add that to what we decanted, and then we let that age a little more.
No, so the first part was correct. You make soy sauce, right? Just like pure
Uh-huh.
soy sauce.
Yeah.
And then you start the process again. You get beans, salt, but instead
Oh,
of water, you put soy sauce.
I see. Okay, so
Yeah,
then this is like the first time around, and then you add
exactly.
more soy sauce to the beans that have
Instead of
already
water.
instead of water, and
Instead of water.
this is the
Yeah.
reason.
And then at the very end, you add a bit of sugar. Yeah, there's a little bit of sugar added to sort of balance it out.
So then after the 6 months, this that the soy so after 6 months that we have this, just say theoretically, okay, we
Yeah.
have this and it's been bottled and you've got the beans. The beans are not spent at that stage. You can like you use them
No,
longer.
no, no. The beans are spent. So the beans are usually used for pig feed. So you're
Oh,
taking a new batch of beans for
okay, new
this.
beans. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
New
Okay.
beans, new salt, but soy sauce instead of
Got it.
water. Because soy
Okay.
sauce is just really salt, beans, water, koji. But
Mhm.
that's a microorganism.
Okay. So see, I'm glad I asked because you were talking and I was thinking, when do I
Yeah.
get to buy this? So
Are
this
you
has a
trying this small one now?
yeah, I'm trying the silky.
The little, yeah.
Um,
So this is
and
a basically it's a double fermented
mhm.
soy sauce.
Oh wow. It's like incredibly it's a lot it's sweet naturally, and it's
No, so
got
there's sugar added
sugar?
to the end, but you can like the umami is just completely different on this one because it's fermented essentially twice.
Right.
And
It's
this is
got
the one. where when I was tasting, I was like, wow, I had no idea soy
Yeah.
sauce could be like this.
The other thing I wanted to ask, so like the Japanese style of shoyu you make oftentimes contains alcohol,
Yeah.
right? And yours does not.
No, alcohol is used as a preservative. Again, like the more I dived into this, I don't like similar to you. I don't think MSG is bad. I don't think alcohol is bad. Alcohol is just a preservative. MSG is a flavor enhancer. Um, so yeah, ours doesn't contain alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
soy sauce
why did
doesn't.
because you don't need a preservative.
You don't need a preservative. I don't actually. I should dive more into this. I don't know why certain brands will use alcohol. I'm just assuming it preserves. I mean, this preserves for longer, but like and with any fine ingredient is, curious if fish sauce is the same. If you leave it out at room temperature after opening it, after a while, the flavor will change because it's left out. So that's why it's recommended to be put in the refrigerator, but it won't mold or spoil. If your soy sauce is like growing mold after opening it for like a month and you put it in room temperature, there's something seriously wrong with
Yeah.
your soy
Yeah.
sauce,
No,
but the
well,
flavor will change.
yeah, I always tell people if you don't use fish sauce often and if it has a preservative or if it does not have any preservatives, then stick it in the fridge. If you
Yeah.
use it often, then it's fine to be outside. But but the thing is that with fish sauce, sometimes if you leave it around, the salt crystals will form.
Oh
And
yeah, I've seen that.
you click the jar, you're like, "Oh my God, there's glass now. What are these Vietnamese producing? It's going to kill me."
I actually that happened to my fish sauce, and I was gonna ask you about that, but that's
Yeah.
good to know. That's like normal to have the
It's
salt crystals
normal.
on top.
It's very pure stuff, but it literally looks like little things that you could like maybe if you had holes in them, you could string them as beads or something, right? Or make pretty earrings and that you shake the bottle and it rattles.
Yeah.
So it hasn't gone. I used to think it went bad. I used to tell people, "Throw it away, you've had it too long." But, it's happened to me. One, person just asked if we could explain the difference between soy sauce and tamari, and I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so tamari in the States at least is used as a general term for gluten-free. In Japan, it's like a specific style of production that yields a gluten-free soy sauce. I don't know exactly that production process, but in the States, it's kind of used as this catch-all term for gluten-free. Ours is not gluten-free because we have wheat in it. But we are working on a gluten-free version. A lot of black soybean, like I said before, a lot of black soybean soy sauces in Taiwan are gluten-free because instead of wheat, they use rice. So lots of nuances to that.
Yeah, and so my understanding with tamari is that it's also, the liquid that's yielded from miso production. So it's like the bottom of the miso
Oh,
vat,
okay.
that liquid, is considered to be tamari. So I was thinking it's very similar to the vat bottom or bottom vat soy sauce that is used in Taiwan too, right?
Yeah, I've asked a lot of people about that. I'm like, what's the vat bottom soy sauce? And then like a lot of producers I talked to are like, that's just a marketing term where they just make it saltier. So again, like there's just so much confusion to this industry, and like all I can do is like really understand one facet, and one could write a whole novel, multiple books and multiple cookbooks just about soy sauce. But when I've tasted tamari, I've noticed, yeah, maybe because it is a byproduct of miso production, it's just very salty, and like yellow soybeans have this like sharp edge to them. I don't know how to describe it other than like a sharp edge, whereas black soybeans have like a rounded ness to it, and that's the only way I can describe it.
I think the umami, with natural sweetness has a really nice round, mouthfeel to the
Yeah.
flavor, right? Another question we have here, is the finished soy sauce cooked before it goes into the bottle or ever heat treated?
Yeah, so after it's filtered, it's like cooked and like mixed with the sugar, but then it's cooled down and then cold filled into these bottles. It's not hot
And
filled.
what about the classic?
It's the same. It's the same. Yeah.
Yeah. You wanna heat it some, I mean, just in case bacteria and stuff? I mean, I would imagine. I mean,
Yeah, it's
with
just usually after you filter, they'll cook it in a big pot um and then fill it. Yeah.
so now tell us more about soy paste, because the first time I had soy
Oh
paste,
yeah.
I was in a little tofu village of sorts in Taiwan outside of Taipei. And I was there to meet like a fifth generation tofu maker. And it turns out his wife was Vietnamese. And, and she served us their freshly made tofu with century eggs. And then she put soy paste on it with like the local hot sauce kind of thing. And it was so delicious.
Yeah.
And I have
Yeah,
no
the
idea
best way
what is
the best way I like to explain it to outsiders is kind of the oyster sauce of Taiwan, if you will, but without any oysters. So soy paste is just a thickened soy sauce. And different regions in Taiwan will flavor it differently. In northern Taiwan, we flavor it with licorice extract or licorice powder. Adds like a medicinal bitter note. It's very faint. In southern Taiwan, where my family is from, it's just they just add a lot of sugar, so it's like extra sweet. Um, and it's like thickened either with like cornstarch or like tapioca starch, and it's just used as like a drizzle, kind of like how you had it at that restaurant over tofu, over the egg pancake. And that's like what I call, quote, like the miscellaneous brown sauce you get at all the street vendors here in Taiwan. And it's very quintessential to Taiwanese cooking, but it hasn't really left. Like it's not really used outside of Taiwan, but a lot of cultures have it. You know, Hong Kong, they have oyster sauce. It's essentially the same thing, a thickened
it?
soy sauce.
Yeah. I mean, it is similar to oyster sauce, but I feel like there's just something a little bit different from it. I don't know. When you guys are making this soy sauce and you use sugar, do you use like the Taiwanese brown sugar in there? Because I know that that's kind of
Yeah,
sweeter.
yeah. So ours is made with the cane sugar, and that's kind of like the default sugar that's used throughout Taiwan, which is it's very, yeah, just like a browned cane sugar.
So when people y- are buying Taiwanese, your soy sauces are available in many parts of the country. I counted maybe like 150 retail shops, so they could check
It's
on
actually
Heydoh.com.
It's actually the most prominent where you are in the Bay Area. I don't know why. There's something about the Bay Area that's crazy about soy sauce. When we launched in Berkeleyville, I just posted on Instagram, and within 24 hours, like I was sleep no, within like 8 hours, I was sleeping when I woke up. Like it was cleaned off the shelves. And now we're in like Luke's Local and Rainbow's Groceries and Buy Right. And I have no idea like why the Bay Area specifically is so rabid for our soy sauce, but I love it so much. Like I'm gonna be visiting you up
Yeah,
there.
well, because we're into really interesting, condiments and trying new things. We're curious. There are a lot of home cooks here in the Bay Area. And but you can visit your website, heydoh.com, right? And then there's like
Yeah,
you can find where there are local retailers. You can also order the
yeah.
um the soy sauce. But let's say I'm just like at Ranch 99. You know Ranch 99, you grew up with it, so did I, and I'm looking for Taiwanese soy sauce. What should I be looking for? What brands? What should I, be shopping for?
Oh, I haven't been to Ranch 99 for a while. Well, the beauty of Ranch 99 is like you can really get anything, but like the downside is like it's so overwhelming. The biggest brand from Taiwan is Dimlan, which is Kimlan. And they're really popular, but very similar to Lee Kum Kee or Kikkoman. They have like a range of soy sauces. Um, if one can read Chinese, some of them do say nitrogen content, but I don't know if they do it when they're in the States. In Taiwan, a lot of the bottles will indicate nitrogen content, but I'm pretty sure once they go to the States, because no one understands that in the States, they don't label it. So I was really fascinated that they actually label it in fish sauce. And then I think for Taiwan, if one is looking for black soybean soy sauce, you just have to look for a variety that says black soybeans. I haven't been in the States for a while, so I don't know what type of brands have been imported to
A
the
very,
States.
very long time ago, a friend of mine, who's a Taiwanese born food distributor to the United States, he gifted me a bottle of black bean soy sauce that he said was being carried at Whole Foods for a short
Oh,
while. Yeah. It was really interesting. It was very good. I thank you, George, and I
that's so
we
cool.
ate it up. And it was yeah, so they had it at Whole Foods for a spell. It was like really
Yeah.
clean soy sauce, nothing, weird in it, and it was really tasty. So going back to Kimlan soy sauce. So that's a very interesting company because I actually met some high-level executive from Kimlan years ago in Hong Kong when I was a Rotary Foundation scholar, and he's a Rosarotarian and introduced to me as Mr. Kimlan. And I was like, "All right, I thought you were Taiwanese, but here he is speaking Cantonese." And whenever I go and buy that soy sauce, I'm very confused because there's light soy sauce, there's dark soy sauce, and then there's something called regular soy sauce.
Yeah, so I think that's because they did that for the American market because we don't have that in Taiwan. And then so how light and dark soy sauce is distinguished. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of it is just empty marketing, but traditionally, light soy sauce is just fermented for like 3 to 6 months. And it doesn't have any added ingredients. And then dark soy sauce is fermented for a little bit longer, and then they add sugar to it, very similar to our silky. Um, and then the color comes from food coloring. Traditionally, it was because it was fermented longer that it had like a darker inky thing. But the vast majority of dark soy sauces out there has caramel food coloring. So it is interesting when you like see a lot of the recipe writing out there. They'll be like, add the dark soy sauce for color. And I'm like, but that's food coloring. Like, do we need that? Um, so Gimlan, when they went to the States, the reason why they had the light and dark soy sauce is because a lot of Americans who are used to cooking Asian food, they operate within this light and dark soy sauce paradigm because that's what we're used to in the States. But in Taiwan, people don't cook like that.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fascinating. And Kim Lan is super popular among Vietnamese people because it is the
Oh,
only
wow.
Chinese style or Taiwanese style. I don't know if Vietnamese people get this. It is only soy sauce, Asian soy sauce that includes Vietnamese on the label.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in Vietnamese it says, translated light soy sauce and dark soy
Yeah.
sauce. And then
Yep.
there's also this one that they'll call regular soy sauce, which I think that if I purchase whatever regular soy sauce is, that's going to be what would be used for Taiwanese food closer to that.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
also a lot of it is like salt levels too. So like light soy sauce is saltier. And yeah, the salt levels are fascinating. It really, really varies too. And then like in America, one of the most popular ones is like low sodium kikomen. So actually you understand, it's like so nice to talk to another recipe developer because you understand these things. So, when you're recipe developing and you like use, if you're using a soy sauce of a certain salinity and then you change brands and it's a different salinity, it's like completely different, especially for braises too. So that's something that like really trips me up um, as well. And so like most soy sauces on the market, and I can't tell you the exact figure because I don't remember, are like very, very salty. And then so unfortunately, when I'm developing recipes for mainstream America, if you will, I can't really use my soy sauces because mine is 25% less sodium. So that would yield a very different flavor profile. So I'm still testing with like the mainstream soy sauce because America doesn't have any other
Exactly.
options.
So Lee Kum Kee and Pearl River Bridge, for example, or what I use, they're clocking in and around 1190 or 1060 milligrams of sodium per tablespoon. And
Yeah.
you're coming in at like
Seven
six,
60. Yeah.
seven.
And then the silky, because it's double brewed, has even less than that.
Yeah,
That's 480.
yeah,
But again, like you just sipped it, right? And you can taste how flavorful it is without the salt. And I think like that's kind of what I was drawn to and like why I decided to start a soy sauce company. I'm like, you can add so much flavor without soy sauce having to be a salt bomb, because I think growing up for me, soy sauce was just a salt alternative. My mom didn't really add salt to her dishes. She just added soy sauce. But if you have a very high quality product, very much like fish sauce, you can add all of these other layers of flavors that you could never dream of.
Correct. And you would get more nuances too. So,
Yeah.
um, so tell me, we never asked why you wanted to make soy sauce of all things because, you're a writer. Your first
Yeah.
book comes out. You had
Yeah.
a baby, you were probably having 1.5 babies because you were pregnant with the second one, and then you like launch a soy sauce company?
Yeah, I mean, to speak candidly, as you know, as like a freelance writer and like cookbook, digital media is dying and it's very unstable. And I was like, what can I do to sort of diversify my cards? I think I will always be a cookbook writer and an author because that is my love. I love diving deep into a topic. Um, but pushing a product that I really like is very much similar to cookbook writing. With a product, you're building a world, you're telling a narrative, you're going deep into the stories. And soy sauce for me, I see this market opportunity. And now I'm putting my business hat on. Again, 2 to 3 times the market share of olive oil, one of the most fundamental condiments in the entire world. Yet there are currently no single origin soy sauces on America's largest grocery stores. And like you, are alluding to throughout this conversation, like most people are very confused about it. There's so many different variations. So, very much like being a cookbook author, I just wanted to take something that is universally understood, but people are sort of universally known, but sort of people are confused about, and sort of distill it to people in a way that's digestible, but give them something that's authentic as well. That's probably a very difficult ask, but I think, writing a cookbook is a very similar journey. You're taking something, a topic, whether or not it's like tofu or like Vietnamese cooking, universally known, but you have to t- digest it for the mainstream audience in a way that's compelling, but still authentic at the same time. So choosing this CPG route seemed like to be a natural fit. And honestly, I'm really enjoying it. It's like I'm having a much healthier relationship with selling soy sauce than I am with freelance writing, to be perfectly honest.
You're certainly impacting a lot of cooks and the soy sauce being available in the United States. And you're in Taipei, but you have business partners in Brooklyn, right, who are handling the
Yeah.
distribution. So it is available in many parts of the United States, and you can just check the Heydoh website. And I'll include that in my newsletter when I send the playback out on our conversation here, and see where it's available, or order it directly and support the company and what you're doing.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And yeah, I just appreciate your interest in it. It's like weird after being a writer for so many years to be like, buy my products. But I think after coming out with cookbooks, it's like very much the same thing. Like, buy the story I came up with and like spent a lot of time developing and interviewing people and like finding the photos and like wrapping it together. Like soy sauce, it kind of just feels like a similar thing.
Right.
It's like the
Yeah,
parallels are fascinating.
exactly.
You should launch a fish sauce company.
I've been offered that opportunity, but there are plenty of great fish sauce available out there. But for those who are on this live stream, we're going to do a giveaway of Heydoh soy sauces in my newsletter, Pasta Fish Sauce. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe so that you get the next dispatch. But I want to thank you, Clarissa, for spending your morning with us, because I know you're super busy, and I've learned so much. And now I can like talk about soy sauce with a much more, I don't know, learned perspective.
I really appreciate it. And yeah, I love again your post about fish sauce and just the parallels. I feel like their fish sauce and soy sauce needs to have a party.
They
um,
they do, they do, and they're so useful in so many different cuisines, and what I love is that they're used in not just Asian cuisines. And the story that you're telling here with Taiwan and its self-sufficiency and its deep need to remain independent
Mhm.
is, I feel like, so much part of your work and also in this soy sauce. And so I was just really happy to see the way that you're telling the story and making this beautiful product that happens to also be extremely delicious and useful.
I'm glad. Yeah, thanks for tasting it live on camera. That's the first time anyone has done that, so that was cool.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's been sitting in my home for like weeks, and my husband's like, "When do we get to eat that?" So we're gonna eat it tonight, and I also got some cool recipes that I've been wanting to try from Made in Taiwan. I've done them with like regular soy sauce, but I want to try it with Heydoh, and we'll see how they turn
Yeah,
out.
great. I can't wait to hear about it.
Thank you, everyone, for attending, and check in with the newsletter this coming Sunday for more information on Heydoh.
Great.
Thanks, Clarissa.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.